Husband Material Podcast, Providing and Protecting. This was requested by somebody. So, providing and protecting. Well, first off, we'll start off with providing. There's a lot to be said about it. Well, obviously, financially, right? Money is one way you can provide. Money is a tool. Money is very useful, right? But it's a tool, right? So let's try not to treat it like it's more important than it really is, right? You get it, you use it. You need to use it wisely. Too many people spend money as opposed to use or invest money. Always make sure you invest your money. That way your money makes money. Another reason to invest your money to make money, obviously other than just making more money, is for the fact that you want to make sure that you have the money necessary to be able to afford things like, retirement, divorce, and so forth and so forth, right? Afford a lifestyle, afford to take care of kids or child support if that's a situation. Obviously to support yourself, but support your, wife. So, money is very important because of the things you can do with it, right? But it's not super important. Whereas, like, it's more important than all these other things, right? More important than family, friends, safety, happiness, all that stuff. Money's not that important, but it's useful. So it's a tool, just like any other tool, right? Just like a screwdriver. It's better to have a screwdriver and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? Same thing goes for money. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. You definitely want to get to the point in your life that you don't need money, right? You can use it, right? You have the skills to get it, but you don't need it, right? You shouldn't be in a situation where it's like you need money just to live your life. Then that means you ain't make good decisions. So you need to make better decisions to make sure you get to the point where you don't need money. Obviously, something logical would be to like own a farm or something, or own some type of resource where you can always get food, or you could always get clean water or electricity, and the list goes on, right? Like investing in solar power, for example. That will help you save money on electricity because you're producing your own electricity too, so you don't have to keep paying an electric bill, water bill, food bill, and the list goes on, right? Getting other resources like being able to get free transportation or at least cheap transportation so you could travel, right? Being able to get, you know, earn points and stuff like that on your credit cards. Obviously, everything should be on credit. And then, of course, you want to, like I said, you earn points. You can use those points to fly around, right? That kind of stuff. So you can look around and try to find ways to obtain resources, right? Obtain things that will make your life better, make your wife's life better, right? Your kid's life. It's not always about like money, right? Because like I'll use this as an example. You could have no money, right? You could just be broke, but for some reason, right? Not some reason, obviously, you would have put this together, but you would have the, you know, transportation whenever you need it, right? Within the city you're in, around the world, right? You always have a place you can stay, and the list goes on, right? Because that's the whole idea. It's just because we use money to get things, right? To get food, to get shelter, clothes, and other things. But if you already have all those things, right? Like if you can get those things without money, that's what I'm trying to say. If you can get those things without money, that's awesome, right? Like if you could get a Lamborghini for free as opposed to paying for it, wouldn't it be amazing, right? Because ultimately what matters is the end, right? Which is getting the Lamborghini, right? The Lamborghini matters more than how much it costs, right? So whether you pay full price or 50% off or get it for free, right? It don't matter. You got the Lamborghini, right? As an example. Same thing as if you got a house, whether it's for cheap or expensive, it's irrelevant. You got a house, right? And the list goes on. So that's the idea, is like your ability to get the things that you would require, that is useful, is top priority because I notice a lot of people tend to chase money and act like, the pursuit of money is important. And it's like, no, money's not important. It's what you do with it that's important. And most people chase money, get a lot of money, and it's like, all right, good for you. You have millions of dollars, but all they do is just spend it on dumb shit. It's like, okay, so that's all you're just gonna do with your life is just spend, spend, spend on unimportant things. Like, yeah, you're having fun, you're enjoying these things that you're doing or buying or having or whatever, but that's it. I mean, that's no different from a kid, in a candy store. You're just in there, enjoying all of the candy, right? But that's not a life, right? That's not a purpose. Purpose is not to just be running around in a candy store eating candy, right? Same thing as like life is not about getting a lot of money so you can just spend it on what? Shoes, hats, like multiple trips to Disneyland. It's like one time wasn't enough, as an example. Obviously, go as many times as you want. I'm not against it. I'm just saying this, like, what you do with money is very important. So being able to help somebody in the need of, that's in need. Somebody's having a medical condition issue, right? And you can fix it with money. Hey, that's amazing. That's great, right? That's something that matters to me. Not the money itself, but the fact that I was able to, fix a problem, right? Just like people say, oh, you can't buy happiness. It's like, well, yes, you can. Because if having a new hat makes you happy, then bang, right? But of course, obviously, logically, it needs to be something that will make you happy for the rest of your life. It can't be just something that makes you happy just when you bought it. Like, oh, that's a cool hat, I'm buy it. It makes me feel good to buy the hat. And after a couple hours, I don't like this hat no more. It's like, okay, that was a waste of money because you bought temporary happiness. What I'm talking about is permanent happiness, right? If you would be happy to, live on a farm, then that would be a good purchase, right? Buy a farm, live on it, and now you're happy, right? If you would like to live on an island, do that, right? And the list goes on, right? If you would love to live in an apartment or a house or a 3-floor house or a mansion or whatever, and that makes you happy, right? Then those are good purchases. But buying, shoes of different colors, it's like, okay, don't need all those colors, but hey, to each their own. But anyway, so it's like, very important to understand it's like what you do with money is what's important, and that's what helps with the whole providing aspect. Because you want to be able to provide, options, right, choices to your family, to your wife. You definitely need to reduce her burden, right? Not only her burden, but your burden, right? Because I mean, you got to understand. This is from my point of view. I trying to get to the point where money doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't, but I mean, it doesn't matter in the sense of like get to the point where I don't need to keep making it, getting it, right, using it. Because, I mean, logically, society, we should get to that point where money is no longer, a needed thing to have society function. But that's for another topic. But the thing is that since you do have, control of your life and whatnot, like I said, if you, get into solar power, that can reduce electric. If you get into recycling water, you know, recycling the water in your house, that can reduce the water bill, and the list goes on and on to a point where you become self-sufficient. So I'm trying to get, you want to get to that point where it's like either A, you have so much money you could afford everything, so then, you always have everything you need, or you invest into stuff that is renewable, things that are sustainable and stuff like that last long. Buying, like if you have a backyard, turning it into a farm, do a whole greenhouse thing and start, growing your own food and stuff like that, so that way you can save money on food because you're literally making your own food. And of course, eating healthy and stuff like that will help with the medical bills, because since you and your family are healthy, you don't have to worry about medical bills, right? You don't have to worry about your family not being healthy, and constantly getting sick and whatnot, right? Because you're actually taking care of them, right? it's important to learn how to be a better person. That way you can provide that into the relationship, right? Be able to teach your wife how to be better, teach your children how to be better, because you learned how to be better. So then you're able to share that knowledge. Obviously, you improving yourself and becoming better, obviously you're more likely going to gravitate to a woman that's, a lot like you, not the same, obviously opposites attract, but a lot like you, have similar beliefs, similar ideas, similar lifestyle, that y'all can obviously, get along. And, she is all for eating healthy and all that good stuff, like it should be. I mean, it'd be weird to get with somebody that's against the idea of eating healthy. Because solution meets problem, right? So it's all about solving problems, and men are problem solvers. And that's something you always got to remember. You're a problem solver, you're a provider, you're a protector, right? You provide for yourself, you provide for others. You protect yourself, you protect others. And protecting and providing is part of problem solving, right? Notice that rhymed. So networks, right? Networking, having, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's also important, right? Because if you don't have money, well, hopefully you know some people who can help you out, who can share the resources, which you might, let you stay somewhere. Like, let's say if you have a friend who, owns a hotel, for example, and they could let you stay in one of their suites that's not being, booked for a couple of days, until you get your shit together. That'd be helpful. Obviously, you shouldn't get into that, shouldn't end up in a situation where you would need to use that resource, right? That favor. But it'd be nice to have it, right? It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. You always have to plan for the worst, right? Always plan worst case scenario. Like, worst case scenario is divorce. I hate that a lot of guys out there be like, don't get married, don't get married. And what they really mean is don't get divorced, because divorce is bad. Marriage is awesome. Marriage is lovely. It's divorce that's the problem, right? No one gets on their knees and proposes divorce. You get on your knees to propose marriage, because marriage is awesome. Divorce is trash, right? Divorce sucks. Just like being in a relationship is awesome, but being single is trash. Regardless of how many people out here lie to themselves saying being single is awesome. It is not, because, it's pretty much the same thing as if everybody on the planet disappeared and you're the only one on the planet. It will suck. So saying that being lonely is awesome, no, it sucks. You're just technically not lonely because there are others on this planet. You're not alone on this planet, but you are lonely. So, but if everybody suddenly disappeared, oh man, you'd be praying you find one person to interact with. Shit, you'd be praying for a freaking dog, cat, some animal, some living thing. I mean, you'll end up like in some of these movies, like Castaway and I Am Legend. We were talking to like balls with faces painted on them and shit like that. So that right there shows that, yeah, shit like that does happen. There do be people that just get a little stir crazy, right? Just get a little social. They just need to be social. We humans are naturally social. We evolved to be social. We evolved to work together. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Men and women get together. Symbiotic relationship. You help her, she helps you, right? Y'all bring stuff to the table so y'all can eat, right? So y'all can benefit each other, and y'all reproduce to keep the human race alive, and the list goes on and on, right? So, like I said, money is something you can provide. Obviously a home, a safe place to live, right? A place to grow. Together. Family, and build a family and whatnot. Men build, women make. So men build a house, women make it a home, right? Remember that kind of stuff. Like I said, earlier, the network thing, it's like it's good to have friends, especially in your neighborhood. You want to be friendly with your neighbors and whatnot, right? They're a resource as well. And that's the thing, money is a resource. Friendship is a resource. Relationships is a resource. Because I mean, even your own significant other, they have their benefits, right? They have their uses, just like you have your use to them, right? You're useful to them, they're useful to you, so y'all benefit each other. So there's that. Even physical attributes, right? Obviously, if she's your wife, there's a lot of physical attributes about her that you love and are useful, if you know what I mean. But then there's your physical attributes, right? You're taller, stronger, more likely smarter, because she would have picked, she would have been like, no, you're smarter than me, I like that, right? Because you got your shit together, you got money, you got this, that, and up there, blah, blah, blah. So obviously, women always typically, they reach for the top. Guys will start at the bottom and just work their way up to the top, right? They'll start at the bottom when it comes to females, right? And work their way up to, something better. So guys tend to fuck up, women tend to fuck down, because they're already at the beginning. They already start off like, oh, I want the best guy. I want my dream guy, blah blah blah, and they always want the best. See, guys, we do have our ideal woman, but we know that the likelihood of getting our ideal woman is slim to none, right? She's just an idea. Like, I would love a woman like this, but the likelihood of that existing is very, very slim. So anything close to it will be good enough. So we settle for less. Women is like, no, my ideal guy has to meet all these requirements. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No surprise that they tend to have a lot of issues when it comes to relationships and finding a good man and all that stuff, because they're reaching for the wrong things, right? They're reaching too high, too unrealistically high, and they're short. Most females are 5 feet, between 5'5", right? So most guys are like 5'8" and above, close to 6 feet, 7 feet, right? So the funny thing is, we're taller, so our reach is higher. So we should be reaching higher, right? We should be wanting the bad bitches, right? The 8s, 9s, and 10s, the hottest chicks on the planet. But we'll take, a 4, a 5, a 6, from a scale 1 to 10, right? We'll take less, right? Instead of just keep shooting for the tippy top, we'll shoot for middle, right? A 5, average, right? A little bit above average, cute, pretty, right? So, that's the difference, right? But anyway, let's see. So that's some stuff when it comes to providing. Obviously, you want to make sure that your money lasts. Not only you want to make sure that your money lasts, you also want to make sure that you can. I mean, this is my viewpoint, or like how I would set up, like when it comes to money. The way I would set it up, I would always make sure that the ladies I'm in relationships with financially benefit, right, and educationally benefit from being with me, as in I will teach them, what I know when it comes to getting money, to making money. That way they have the knowledge and skills that I do, right? Teach them how to be responsible with money, right? How to invest, how to do this, that, and third, how to save, how to, not spend, right? Use your money, not spend the money, because most females tend to just spend, right? So teaching them how to be more financially responsible. And then, of course, have other contingencies. I'm not going to tell you my own personal setup for how I take care and provide my ladies, but the idea of making sure that there's like an account that she has access to, where she can get access to money, where you kind of like you're giving an allowance type thing, like where it's like you're making sure that she has funds. Not really allowance, is more like wife and wife, like what can I call it? Like a wife fund or something like that, right? Kind of like a trust fund, but for like a wife, right? Wife fund. So a way to make sure that she always has money that she can use. But of course, like I said, teach her how to be how to invest and stuff like that, so that way she can make money. Because my goal is to make sure that while she's with me, she's financially good. But if she's no longer with me, she's still financially good. I always believe in that. I always saw that as a problem back in the day, and most females nowadays believe that that's still the case. Maybe in some cases it is, but it's very rare because it's not like by default you get married to a guy, you automatically lose your quote unquote independence. And if he leaves you, which guys don't, 80, they say 80%, the number is less, I think it's 65% now, of females, file for divorce. So they're the ones leaving the relationships. So it's not the guy leaving you with nothing, it's you leaving the guy. But here's the funny thing is you never leave with nothing. Why? Because the courts always give you what? Alimony, always give you money, always try to give you, a lot of people say, oh, she'll take half of my money. Yeah, 50% of his wealth is a lot. So for women to, females to be out here complaining that, oh, getting married is a bad idea because, he'll leave me and then then I'm left with nothing and I have nothing. It's like, well, that's bullshit. Mainly because of the whole divorce thing, right? You get money through alimony, but then there's the other things like, it's like before you get married, you should have been saving up money anyway, right? For your own personal thing, you should have been saving money. Now, I believe it's like, like I said, my point of view is that I will make sure that she's financially, she's financially taken care of, right? While we're in a relationship, even after the relationship, because I make sure that she has money. I don't want no excuses of like, she breaks up with me type of deal. And it's like, feels like, oh, I feel, like I have nothing. And then it's like, well, because you have nothing now, I suddenly have to give you something at the end of, something that you ended the relationship, right? But the likelihood of that happening is very slim. But anyway, I have all these plans and contingencies to take care of her financially, but not allow myself to be abused by the the court system, right there. So that's if I ever end up in a divorce. Plus, that's the thing I was saying, like, make sure you have, money for everything, including like divorce, right? So that way, if she does take half or takes a large percentage of your money, it don't matter. You're still rich, right? Half of rich is still rich, right? If you're in a rich scenario. Because that's the funny thing is a lot of guys complain about being in a bad financial situation and whatnot, like child support, divorce. They tend to complain about that. And it's like, okay, well, one, it's just money. It's irrelevant. It's money. You're acting like they took half of your leg or something, or they cut your child in half and gave you half of your child or some shit. Like, nah. Like, them getting custody of the child and you not having access to the child or having less, that I could agree. That is fucked up. But half of money, like it's man-made. It actually has no real value. We just pretend it does. It's monopoly money, whatever, fiat money, right? We'll get into that another topic. But the point is that it's just money. It don't matter. You can make more of it. You can use money to make money. If she takes half, okay, take the half you have left, use it to make another half, right? Use it to make more money, and now you have more money than you had before. Like, who cares? Money is irrelevant. Right? Money's meant to be used and spent anyway. If you have a lot of money, then use it. So there's that. That's just how I think. It's like it's just money. I could always make more, especially if you're smart enough to invest your money into assets and stuff like that. Preferably assets she can't take away from you, right? Through the court system, you still have them, so you can still make money, so that we can afford the alimony, blah blah blah, all that other stuff that you had set up. But anyway. So let's get into protecting. There's a lot that can be said when it comes to providing money and whatnot, and sharing your resources and stuff. But protecting, obviously you should learn self-defense to protect yourself, to protect others, right? Friends and family, right? Be good at what is it called? It's about de-escalating situations, right? Something prevention, something like that, like de-escalating situations, conflict resolution. There you go, conflict resolution. Get into the habit of reducing, situations where problems would happen, right? Obviously, get in shape. That's always good to be because it's healthy. But also you want, you're a man, right? Have the strength to defend yourself, but defend others. And if you have to fight like 5 dudes to protect your wife and kids, you might want to be strong enough to do so, right? Make your life easier, not harder. For the guys who are older, like 40 plus, I definitely suggest like Aikido and I think it's Wing Chun or Wushu. I think it's Wushu. No, Tai Chi. So Tai Chi and learn any martial arts. I'm very versed in different styles of fighting, but it's Aikido. Oh yeah, acupressure. Learn stuff that doesn't require a lot of muscle, because the older you get, the weaker you might get. Obviously, you should be working out, lifting weights, blah blah, all that good stuff, and trying to maintain a lot of your young strength, right? Your prime strength. But if you start deteriorating, start having health problems, which you should obviously mitigate. But let's say you have some serious health problem because like maybe a car accident or some shit, and you're really banged up. You might want to learn some forms of styles of fighting that don't require a lot of muscle and strength. More about technique and strategy. So I recommend that. Preferably things that require more hand usage, maybe some weapons. Try to avoid kicking. That's a young man's game. The older you get, the less you want to kick. This is to somebody's balls, right? Let's see. Of course, make sure your wife learns some self-defense. Your children learn, self-defense. Obviously, learn to use it as a last resort, not as a way to resolve conflicts. Obviously, you don't want to raise bullies, that kind of stuff. Home security, personal security. Well, personal security is the whole martial arts thing, right? Self-defense thing, plus self-defense tools and items, right? Like stun guns and mace and things of that nature. But home security, right? You want to make sure the house is safe, car is safe, right? Try to get some security measures for your vehicles. Ideally, bulletproof, among other things. Because when you're in the vehicle, you should be safe, especially if it's a family vehicle. You want it to be as safe as possible. Obviously, you want to make sure that it has airbags and all the other safety features, but being able to add extra security, bulletproof glass windows and tires that don't easily get a flat, among other things, right? Reinforced doors, so that way they can, that way bullets just don't go right through them, right? Kind of stuff. So that's just my viewpoint, especially if you're up there financially. Yeah. Why are you driving in something that isn't, bulletproof, right? Safe location, right? It's not enough to have a house with security and all that stuff, but also have the house in a safe location, right? Where the area is safe. So it's like, the security system is just extra layer of security. Where are you at should definitely give you a lot of security, right? Because you're in a location that's less traffic, not a lot of people just walking around. If you did see somebody walking around, then they're suspicious, right? Then you're like, there's something going on here. This person shouldn't be in this area. Because it's a very secluded area or it's private property, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. So it makes it easier to know if something's wrong or not, right? Like I said, safe location, right? Safe, not just safe location in an area, but a safe area, like a safe country, whatnot. Look around the world and see where it's best for you to be. Plus, it's not just safety for, your neighborhood environment type stuff, but also safety even from government and just the world in general. Because if the world starts falling apart and apocalypse and anarchy and all this extra shit, you might want to be somewhere safer, right? It'll be somewhere where less likely people will mess with you, right? Like an island or something like that. That's extreme, but you get my point. You might want to be somewhere just a little bit more out of reach from mainstream, the main society, right? The big society, the general society. Because if society in general starts crumbling, you don't want to be there when it's crumbling, right? You rather be outside. You don't want to be in Rome, right? When Rome falls, right? As they say, right? Because Rome fell, hundreds of years ago, right? So you don't want to be there when it falls. You rather be away from it, right? you don't want to be part of its downfall. Resource security, right? Be able to make sure that you always have access to stuff like food, and make sure that your food is safe, right? Even just having your own personal security, or having friends who are in law enforcement or something like that can provide you some assistance in certain situations. Even friends who you could call for certain situations where you might need extra human bodies, right, for security, but it not be the cops directly. So that way you can reduce the possibilities of issues that can arise from the police. Like, the police should be like a last resort. Me personally, I try to set it up where if something was happening, if there was a situation, let's say there's a danger to my family, the last thing I would call would be the cops. I would rather call my friends. One, they're more likely close by anyway, especially if they're in the neighborhood or at least around my area, so they can get to me a lot faster, when I need them. But also, it's the fact that it's the trust factors. I know them. I trust them. I know they'll have my back. I know they'll be there for helping me in this situation. Not to have a weird scenario where cops pull up, right, and then they're just like, hey, so who's the problem here? It's like, what? I called you. So clearly I wouldn't be the problem in this situation. I'm calling you because I'm having a problem, and I need you to resolve it peacefully, ideally. But sometimes you see some weird scenarios where the person who calls ends up getting arrested. Like, that's stupid. So there's just, the police system is not as perfect. Well, never was perfect, but, because nothing is perfect, but it's not as good as it used to be. It used to be better. It's less than it used to be now. So the quality of law enforcement has decreased. And hopefully in the near future, it gets better and whatnot. Wouldn't be surprised to be like AI and RoboCops and all that type of stuff in the near future, or drones and shit like that involved in dealing with domestic calls and stuff. Sorry, and stuff like that would reduce the human interaction, right? It would reduce somebody getting emotional and be like, you know what, I'm gonna put my knee on your neck or some shit like that, right? If you're using like AI stuff, like drones and stuff like that, they can hear. They can probably tell who's lying, or they could just hear, the situation and just be able to make a logical decision that's not emotional, right? A logical decision based off of the information, right? Based off of the facts, and be able to make a determination, like be able to tell, okay, clearly that person has a gun, that person was shooting, that person's a threat, I'm gonna arrest them, right? Not go into this whole like, oh, because they're black, I'm gonna arrest them, or some type of bullshit, or oh, because they said fuck the police, now I'm getting in my emotions, and now I'm going to arrest them because they said fuck the police, even though that's not illegal to say or do. But you get the idea, right? I have way too many ideas for solving a lot of the world's problems, but right now let's just focus on what you should be doing for your family. Obviously, like I said, personal security, location, home security, vehicle security, travel security, right? You don't want to be in a Taken movie type situation where, one of your family members, your wife, children, whatnot, or even yourself, ends up being taken by some unsavory people. You obviously want to make sure you have some form of protection. Even if you're not a rich person or anything like that, it's better to have some type of system which makes it harder for, your kids to get kidnapped, or for you to get kidnapped, right? You want to reduce as many bad things that could happen, right? If it could happen, it would happen. The Murphy's Law, if I'm right. If it could happen, it would happen. So it's like, I'd rather be safe than sorry, as they say. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? And I've done this many of times in my life. Like for example, I teach my mother and my sisters, nieces, nephews. Like I teach everybody martial arts. It's just my thing. I teach everybody self-defense. I teach everybody martial arts, right? I teach them to defend themselves if need be. With the females, ironically, I'd be much harsher with them when it comes to self-defense, because of the fact that, yes, more often than not, they're gonna be interacting negatively and get into physical contact with females more than guys. But for the situation, they are interacting with a guy, and the guy is a threat. Since guys are bigger, stronger, blah blah blah, and they have the advantage, I gotta teach the ladies, the females in my life, to be much tougher, more deadlier, much more painful techniques than I teach the guys. Guys, I just teach them, obviously how to block better so they don't get knocked the fuck out, and to swing better, to punch better, harder, all that stuff, basic stuff like that, grappling, this, that, basic things that will be useful in fighting, especially fighting multiple assailants, multiple people, logical shit, basic self-defense. But for the ladies, I go with extra shit like eye gouging, ball twisting, nipple twisting, biting, kicking right to the groin type shit, like just, extreme shit. Like I give them extra stuff, and then like certain techniques to help them, overpower somebody bigger than them, stronger than them, faster than them, right? I teach more, a lot stronger techniques. I definitely teach like pressure points, like kicking the guy in the nuts. That's a pressure point, right? Things of that nature. Definitely always teach that anytime you're in a bad situation, especially a SA situation, right? Always fight. Never be like, I'm afraid he's gonna hurt me, so I'm gonna submit to his
LP radio check.
Submit to the situation, right? Accept your fate. No, always fight. Always fight. Because if you're fighting, you're surviving, right? Especially if you're in a scenario where, because you're fighting, you're resisting, you're putting effort to, yes, I know it prolongs the situation, but you rather prolong the situation for hopefully someone else, ideally a guy, to come to your aid, as opposed to just submitting, like, oh, just let them get it over with, right? Type of situation. Now there are scenarios where, women rape and blah 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 and all that stuff, but you get the point that, for the scenarios where it's like, you're at a disadvantage, then you need to fight. But this is why, us as men, we definitely need to make sure that, we provide the women in our lives, right, what they need to be able to survive on this planet, right, to be able to thrive and survive, live long lives, through, resources, but also through, knowledge, right, teaching them stuff like self-defense. That's always top priority. Because my mindset is always like, I'm not always going to be there. I can't always protect you. So you need to learn to protect yourself, right? And the ladies in my life, they have told me some stories of situations where they were in. A lot of it was typically against other females, which, proves to my point that a lot of the dangers they have to face tend to be from the same sex, not the opposite sex. But there have been opposite sex situations, and they were able to handle the situations a lot better because I trained them to, protect themselves than if I didn't. So I did good by teaching them. Obviously, I use myself as the training dummy, right? And I'm over 300 pounds. They tend to be way less than 200 pounds, right? 100 and something. So they tend to be half my size and weight. So teaching them to take down a big guy like me, and tons of guys struggle to take me down. So clearly, I'm a good training dummy for the females in my life to practice and learn how to take a big guy like me down. And of course, there's provide them, with safety tools and teach them how to use certain things, like how to use their environment to protect themselves. And like I said, home security. Just make sure that the environment, where we live, is safe. That it drastically reduces the need for security, right? Drastically reduce the need for security if you're in a safe place. But never, no place is 100% safe. So never, skip on, security, right? Still try to be safe even when you are safe, if that makes sense. Um, what else? I guess I'll just leave it at that for now. That should give you enough ideas of, what you should be working on when it comes to providing, what you should be working on when it comes to protecting. Just Google it, right? Go on Google and learn more about, being a provider. Learn more about protecting, because this episode is not going to be enough to teach you everything, right? It just at least it gives you an idea of what you're supposed to be doing as a provider, what you're supposed to be doing as a protector, right? Do as much as you can, do more, more than what I'm saying, and that's the end of the podcast.